Okay, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to make a petal shape template. I don't know what to really call it. It's the top portion of the swag that's going to be draped over our 9-inch base cake. I want it to appear that there's a big piece of material draped over the top of the cake. So I just don't want the swag pinned to the side of the cake. I want it as if it was been drawn up into like a curtain. So we're going to create that petal shape that we're going to drape over the top and then attach the swags to the draped over petal edges. So to do that, I'm going to take a 10-inch cake circle or cake pan, and I'm going to trace around the edge. We're going to cut this out. Okay, so once you have your 10-inch circle, we're going to take our 9-inch pan, and I'm going to center it the best I can. Now I'm going to trace around that. Okay. So you're looking for something like this. Now we're going to fold this in half. Half again. So you can see that I was pretty well centered. All these little lines are all kind of coming, they're all lining up there. I have my 4-inch cake pan here. And so what I'm going to do is you're looking for a circle that's going to meet the top of the parchment circle edge, but yet not extend beyond the 9-inch perimeter that we've created. So now we're just going to trace this. Okay.
Swing it around to the camera?
Swing it, what do you mean, swing it around? Okay. We don't want these edges to really go beyond that 9-inch line. Now we're going to trim away. You have to make sure you hold your parchment still for this because the layers will want to shift. Just like that. Just like cutting paper dolls when you were a kid. You remember that, Dave? And there we have our petal. So we're going to cut this out, and it's going to lay over the edge of our cake, and then we're going to start our swag at these points. So that way it's all going to be filled in the same color, and it's not just going to be, hey, I'm material suspended from the side of your cake. It's a complete look. I have my cake board here, a little bit of royal icing. We want to center our cake to this point here. So just a little bit of royal icing just to hold it in place. I've already picked out my front. So I'm just going to slide that onto my hand. Careful when handling the cake. You don't want to smudge your airbrushing like I just did. There we go. Oh, the cake just spun a little bit. It's the royal icing. Okay, let's see. want to make sure that the angle is going from left to right or right to left. Okay, so I'm happy with the placement. So just pop that aside. Before we apply our stars, I'd like to top it with the petal shape first, just so I know where those petals are going to flop over the edge and they don't interfere with the stars. So I'm just going to take a portion of my purple fondant. I'm gonna roll this out. I'm gonna roll this out as thin as I can. Okay. That's thin enough. Out of the purple fondant, I'm going to use a palette knife here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now be careful at the points. Just pull that away. Remove the excess. Just going to rub those lines out. Just cleaning up those little frayed edges. Let's apply this petal shape to the top of our bottom tier. Just going to make sure that it's nice and loose. You're just going to center this the best you can. It might need a little coaxing. All right, turntable, you're out of here. You lost your privileges. You just want to make sure that these points at least make it to the edge of the top of the cake. Just pick up the petal and smooth towards it. Okay, and then when we apply our first layer of swag, they'll meet at the points here, and then it'll start to build up and cover the corners. Okay, now we're going to secure our little petals in place. I didn't want to lock down the whole piece of fondant because in case I needed to adjust it, and I was worried if I'd put water down that if I misplaced it, it would have been locked in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to worry about the edge pieces here. So a little bit of water, and then I'm just going to gently massage it down and glue it to the side of the cake. Don't worry about the triangles or diamonds. Let's begin applying our swag, but before we do that, I just want to take the time to give a special thank you to Marina Sousa for allowing me to use her swag technique on this cake. To achieve the swag, you will need a set of nesting circles. You'll need 3 circles for at least a minimum of 3-tier swag. Be sure for your smallest circle that the center point, like directly across, that it reaches each corner of your petal. So that's your guideline. And then your next swag will be the next larger circle, and then the next swag will be your next larger circle, like that. I have already cut out all my circles ahead of time. So every circle will yield you 2 swags. We have 8 petal points, so we only need 4 circles. Cut those each in half, that will give us 8 swags. I've actually cut out 1 extra just in case you drop it on the floor or it cracks on you or whatever. So it's always good to have extra. So you're gonna start with your smallest circle first. So I just got mine here with, I have mine here with saran wrap. Just keeping it so it doesn't dry out. Casey, okay? Yeah? We're going to want to cut this directly in half. Just eyeball it the best you can in half. I'm using a long carving knife for this. You're going to want a nice straight edge so you have just one clean straight cut. Now to achieve the swag look, all you do is you just kind of tuck under that cut lip and then you pinch the ends and they give you like this crescent shape. Like this. Whoops. And now I like to make up all of them in advance. I can show that again. So we're just going to flip the cut end under, and then we're going to pinch the ends together. Don't worry about cracking and stuff if you have any. We're going to be covering this all up with stars. And I just like to give its final shape on the table. I'm going to go ahead and prep all the small circles so I have steady application. So that's 8, but I'm going to do one more up just because it's good to have a couple extras. There we go. We have our first set ready for our first layer of application. Let's begin to apply our swag. So I just got water here. So I'm going to put water all along the bottom edge. And I'm also going to put it all along the cut edge, the flush. Match your corners up the best you can. Don't worry, we're going to develop a lot of bulk up in these corners. And we'll be covering those up. You have to be so careful. You don't want to mess up your airbrushing either. But you want to kind of secure it so that it's anchored to the cake. You won't see that it's anchored to the cake. We'll leave the final tier loose so it has that appearance of hanging. Just need that to adhere. I need a little more water, I think. Just a little bit. You don't want to squish that nice little rounded line. Okay, now we can move on to the next one. Next swag. You can try using piping jelly if the water's not holding for you. You just want to make sure that it anchors to this petal shape so that it's all coming from the purple piece. You have to hold it just for a second. Checking on next door. All right. Next swag. I'm going to show you how to adhere the second row of swag. So same technique as before, just water all over. I'm just going to come right up underneath that lip, pop the corners in place, secure with your finger. This will help hold it and anchor it while you get it to look just right. Just pin that in place. Our final swag will hang directly down. But this is, like I said earlier, it's just to help anchor it and to support the weight of the fondant. Make sure everything is nice and adhered. Actually, I want to get my Dresden tool. Use my finger right now. Just open those pleats up. Make sure you got those layers. There we go. All this will be covered up. We're going to put stars there. You won't even see that. Next row. I've decided to go ahead and use royal icing to adhere my stars. The piping jelly, I find they're just sliding off the cake. So I'm going to go ahead and just pipe a small little dollop and pop it on. Just make sure it's nice and small. You don't want it to like ooze out. Sorry. All the stars are now attached. I'm going to apply my final tier of swag. So same as the other two steps, just with our largest circle now. Fold that over. Actually, with this swag, I want it to kind of hang. I don't really want it to touch the side of the cake. So we really got to make sure that it sticks just at these 2 points here and kind of right here. So I'm going to just quickly show that. So water. Just to about there. But the cut edge still needs water. I'm going to do this at the back. So push it down, secure it, but leave that bottom hanging free from the cake, like that. Okay. Keep an eye on it for a second because it could still slide off. So just make sure it's nice and attached. See my stuff already. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing all the way around, and then our swag will be done and ready for stars at the bulky points. going to airbrush in the creases of my swag. I'm going to use Regal Purple to go with my purple fondant. Just test it. Whoa, that's why you test. All right. I want it to be very subtle. I'm only going to pull the trigger back ever so slightly, just so I get a very fine mist. Make sure that you start your swag at the back, because you can see by my first swag, I kind of got like some heavy spots here. It took me a moment to get into the swing of things. I find this swag is much smoother, not as blotchy. So make sure you start at the back so you can hide all your errors. Start at the corner so we can mask those starting points. And just as you see the color, back and forth. There you go. Turntable sounded like a chicken. Sounded like one. Sounded like a balked there, didn't it? Okay. That's all the swags. We're ready to apply our stars at our swag points now. I've decided to go big star, small star, big star, small star. I just thought the big star was a little too big all the way around, taking up too much space. So I'm actually going to start at the front just because I want to have one center big star and then two small stars. So I want to make sure that my big star goes right in the center of the front of my cake. So I'm just picking up my favorite star. And I'm just going to use some royal icing. I'm just applying it right at the bulky point where the two swags meet. Now we can put on our little stars, our little baby stars. The baby. Make sure you don't put too much royal icing, so I was like washing out the sides. All done. Awesome. Oh my god, I want to go and play skee-ball already and eat some peanuts and some popcorn and have some lollies. Speaking of popcorn, let's stack that popcorn bucket on top of this cake here.